Welcome back, folks, to 2 Brits 1 Puck. I'm your host, Mr. Intangibles, a man of culture and a cross-country traveller, Dan Masters, with my good friend, a man who put on a hell of a wedding, and a man who'll be able to walk around in his own house in just his pants any day now, Will Everett Human. Will, how you doing?
Very well, thank you, Dan. Very well indeed. Tired. Can't stop playing with my wedding ring. Yeah, I'm glad you had a good time, mate.
It was great. In lieu of a question of the week this week, everybody, if you can indulge us slightly, I feel we should discuss Will's wedding, which was on Saturday. How did it go for you, Will?
Everything everyone says about having a wedding was true. You don't get a chance to do anything. Barely finished a drink all night. Felt like I barely spoke to anyone, yet also spoke to everyone. It was a good laugh. Nice to have everyone there. I think it was relatively pain-free sort of thing. There was no massive drama or anything, no bust-ups between guests or issues with the staff or whatever, so smooth as we could ask for.
It was one of the better ones I went to, actually. It was
Really?
The speeches were great, very funny, didn't drag on too long. Your new wife did a speech, which was very good. Your daughter stole the show. Your wife was thanking people, and your daughter said sort of essentially "and me," which got a big laugh, everybody. I was sat on a good table. That was nice. I'm going to shout out Sammy, Jamil and Yaz, who I spent nearly all the meal talking to, their mum Sarah, who I believe she sat down and said to me, "Oh, you must be Dan. Will says I've got to ask you about the Grease story." So thanks for that, Will. That was good.
just trying to grease the wheels of conversations there, Dan.
Yeah, it was a good way to break the ice about telling her how I slid down a hill of rocks in just my undies, which was
And
just
guarantee
fantastic.
she absolutely loved that story.
Yeah, I think the whole table did. I think the whole table got a kick out of it. I spoke to Pete as well.
Yeah,
Who
Peter.
was, shout out to that guy, who was a real interesting dude. He's a guy who flies gliders, and he lives on an airfield in a caravan, which I fucking love. I fucking love that so much. He reminded me of Alex Honnold, the guy who I talked about from the Free Solo, who sort of just climbs mountains with no ropes or anything. He just reminds me of him. I said, have you heard of Alex Honnold? He's like, oh yeah, the guy lives in the van. And his eyes lit up like, oh my God, a caravan's too much. I should just get a van.
I've actually got far too much space in this caravan.
Yeah, I'm not a king. I don't need 3 rooms. This is ridiculous.
To even further shatter the illusion there, Dan, him and my sister-in-law have now moved into a cabin on the airfield, not a caravan, a proper wood cabin with like a nice little bird and all that. So he's basically living the 5-star life now.
I love it. So we were talking to everybody on the table, and I was obviously just drawn to Sammy, Jamil, and Yaz, who were obviously the 3 closest people to me aside from my wife. We kind of hit it off straight away, and during the middle of the night, their dad Yusef went and sat at another table, so Pete just came and sat with us for a little bit. And at some point he just came over, I think because somebody had gone to get some donuts or something, so he came sat next to me. He just went, "Oh, hi, I'm Pete." I was like, "Oh, hey, Pete, how you doing?" He said, "Yeah, I want to come over and talk to you." And he just said, "What's your favourite book?" That was like the first thing he asked me. And I thought, okay, yeah, this is good. I like this. So we had a conversation, and then I just said to him, "What's your favourite film then?" And that was what we did for 10 minutes. What's your favourite food? What's your favourite colour? What do you hate? What's like, blah, blah, blah. A real interesting guy.
Not to turn this into the Peter Carter podcast, but he's fantastic because you can be really like, not straight, not blunt with him, but it's exactly like that. You can just get straight into a conversation and have quite an interesting conversation with him. Him and my sister-in-law were, they're quite eco-conscious and stuff like that. Like they've switched to a paleo keto diet and all that sort of stuff. But the thing that I always remember is they were for a time making their own. I assume they probably still are making their own washing detergent.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, which is cool and power to him. But had a really interesting conversation with him, and he's the sort of guy that you really can have like a proper debate with. Like you can wholeheartedly disagree with him and have quite a fired up conversation about it, but it's still no hard feelings at the end of the day. He's an interesting guy, very interesting guy.
He was amazed that I still had an iPod, which I do because and the reason I do is because I'm a fucking clumsy idiot, and I will drop my phone. And I thought, well, if I've got my music and all my podcasts on my phone, I drop my phone, now I've lost everything. So I need something separate for my music and podcasts. So I have an iPod and a phone, and that's why. But he was blown away by it. So then it came to, what kind of music do you like? So I said, oh, I've got everything on there, like, Justin Timberlake, I've got NWA, I've got Slipknot, I've got Dire Straits. And he goes, he said, can I just tell you something? He said, I fucking hate Dire Straits. I said, I was like, well, yeah, I get it. Like some people do. I said, but I was raised on it, so I kind of didn't have a choice. It was just on in my dad's car all the time. So it just kind of, I like dire straits by osmosis, but you're right. He just came out with that like, I fucking hate them. I was like, yeah, I don't blame you, dude. And I think he kind of thought, oh, that's good. Like I can just say that and it doesn't matter. You're not somebody who takes it like super personally or anything. So
and it can just spur you on into more and more interesting conversation. On the subject of dropping and breaking phones, Dan, do you want to know how I know it's time to get a new phone?
Did you drop and break your phone by any chance?
No. The first part, so for the last 3 times I've replaced a phone, I've ended up dropping it in a toilet. So,
oh my God.
Once I drop a phone, very, very, like, I've never ended up with cracked screens, really. I'm not much of a phone dropper. Or if I do, it never really gets too much damage or anything like that. I'll drop it in the toilet eventually. It just happens. And then that's, right, all right, time to get a new phone. It's been in the bog. Because you can't be walking around with something to your ear that has been in a toilet. You can't.
No, I agree. And
it's just funny how it's happened to 3 phones in a row now. Not that it's happened. I've had 3 phones this month or anything like that. Like it's just, they've all had 2-3 years out of them, and then just eventually, you're having a wee. You've got one hand on your todger. Like, right, let's have a little quick check on Twitter. You're not quite as steady on it as you are, and bam, bounces into the bowl.
I think the only way to resolve the situation is you've got to start pissing in the sink. I can't think of or going outside into the grid or something. I can't think of another way to solve this.
Because even if I drop it in a sink, like a sink that I'm pissing in, I'm probably going to piss on the phone.
That's true, actually.
The fact that it's a bog isn't like necessarily the issue. It's more the thing that happens to it. Like I'm dropping it in a puddle of piss. So I reckon if I pee outside, there's less of a chance that I'm going to drop the phone into piss.
There you go then. Solved your problem. That's fine. You're now an outside urinator.
It's perfect. Sorry, I just want to keep my phone safe. Let me just go outside and have a whiz.
Exactly.
Dan, how do you feel about using your phone at the urinal?
Well, yeah, you got to. I'm all for it. I'll ring my wife when I'm sat having a shit.
Yeah,
I'll be like, all right, I'm bored. I'm having a dump. What are you up to? And she'll be like, oh, for fuck's sake.
It's hard because I know
What?
you work in like an abandoned hospital or on your own or whatever, but
it is like that. Yeah, that's true.
Say you're at like a public urinal, would you get your phone out then?
Yes,
yeah.
I'll take phone call if I'm sat on the toilet in a public anywhere and somebody rings me. Not if I'm weeing, because again I'm then concerned about I will drop my phone into the toilet. If I'm pinching a loaf, I'll take that call. I'm sat down. Why not?
I'll take that call.
Yeah. Why not?
When the universe calls, you answer it.
Exactly. If I'm dropping the kids off at the pool, not if I'm having a wee.
That's the thing. So I'm talking about like at the urinal, and it feels like it's one of those things that maybe we haven't had it around long enough that it's an unwritten rule that is communicated down through generations yet. But I feel like having your phone out at a urinal, it's a bit seedy, really, isn't it? Nobody knows what you're doing on that phone.
Yeah, it is a bit. Let's move back to the wedding quickly. Speaking of the wedding, one last thing for me, of course, a massive shout out to Joe from the podcast, who was not only a fine chap, a very fine looking chap actually, looking very dapper in his blue suit. I think he might turn some heads. I don't know if he has a lady friend or not, but he should have done. He looked bloody good that night, dude. He looked good. But he was also your photographer.
I know. Yeah, he worked his arse off, worked his socks off.
It was absolutely amazing because I didn't meet him until later on. Obviously, he was taking pictures the whole time. And then you're waiting to greet people as they're going for food. And you went, that's Joe. And I went, oh my God, Joe from the podcast. It was like the meeting of 3 minds. But he was also great because he agreed with me that Tom Wilson was a menace and deserved to be taught a lesson. Joe at the moment is my favourite listener. Until someone else steps up with something like that, Joe's at the top of the listener leaderboard.
Yeah, but Joe's a Neanderthal. So did you not see how strong his brow was? You can't trust a single thing that comes out of that man's mouth.
Either way, he was a great guy. But it was a great day. It was a great day.
Oh, fantastic! I'm glad you enjoyed it, Dan. I really am.
All right, should we talk some hockey?
I suppose we'll have to, really.
Hey everybody, It's that time of the week. It is the Smooth Recap. Congratulations to the Boston Bruins, who beat the St. Louis Blues this week to tie the series at 4 games all. Come on, boys. One more win and the cup is ours.
The Predators secured their fans a fat trick last week against Minnesota. A free Frosty for 4 goals, a Big Mac for a goal in the last 5 minutes, and a donut for a shutout. You fat fucks.
The New York Islanders have changed musical tastes around to bolster their fortunes. Excision, Skrillex, and Flux Pavilion providing the dubs in the locker room, with the Isles providing the dubs on the ice, as they win 7 in a row.
The Blues season is going just as planned, with Vlad Tarasenko going down injured for 5 months. A 6-3-3 start almost derailed their blueprint set from last year.
Tony DeAngelo becomes the first Rangers DA man in 23 years to record multiple points in 3 consecutive games. Oh!
Speaking of things going exactly as planned, the Canucks are slipping down the standings and this week blew a 5-1 lead over the Capitals. Ah, sweet expectation.
Much like a wedding I went to last weekend, donuts are on show again, as Peter Mrazek records his 20th career shutout.
Todd McClellan didn't mince his words when discussing the Kings' recent road trip. McClellan declared the trip a success because it showed him that some players can't play in the league anymore.
Jim Rutherford is going to be considered for the reboot of Steptoe and Son, or for our North American friends, Sanford and Son, as he turns Eric Gabranson into actual tangible assets.
We'll finish with a stat shot this week, as 4 teams have a power play percentage beginning with a 3. Boston are sitting on 35.7%, Edmonton have 33.3%, the Islanders have a 30.8% hit rate, and Ottawa are shooting at a 3.7% rate on the power play.
And that was your Smooth Recap. Alright, I do love these players ended up turning into this thing, trade trees. You know, like Jordan Eberle essentially became Ryan Spooner moving to Switzerland.
Yeah,
like
yeah. I especially love when the trade tree ends with nothing, like left in free agency. It's like,
because
yes.
the with the Eric Gudbranson thing, the Penguins turned a first into Andreas Martinsson and a 7th.
Bargain
with that
absolute
trade.
Bargain,
dude. I can't believe the Ducks took him on, and they took on all his salary.
The Pens didn't trade a first for Gudbranson to start it, though, did they?
No. The first was for. It's like what I mean. It's like a long tree. It starts off with the Penguins trading for. I'm pretty sure it was David Perron, and then down and down and down and down it goes all the way down. Yeah, the Penguins first becomes Andreas Martinsson and a 7th all the way down the trade tree.
Oh, there's some really good ones of those, and they normally involve the Leafs in somehow.
Yeah, do you know what? There was one last year, but it was a player from like 2001 or something, and it was like the last part as somebody either retired or left the league or something, but it was a player from 2001, and every time something else happened in that trade tree, it was a young player was attached to the trade, and it just went on for years and years and years. The trade tree was going further down. But yeah, they're so good. They're so good.
I don't know if we... No, I'm still not going to congratulate Jim Rutherford for trading Eric Gudbranson. That's just a slight on Bob Murray, really, isn't it?
I know. It's taken on all his cap as well. Oh, my God.
But then Gudbranson was playing better this year than he was last year, so, you know, and what, Martinson in the 7th? I mean, blew an egg. That's basically future considerations by any other name, isn't it?
But still, it is a tangible asset.
Yeah, play Tangerine's a tangible asset.
Yeah, but at that point for Gudbranson and his 4 million hit.
Crazy.
Who's winning the cup this week?
Who's winning the cup? I'm winning the cup, Dan. I'm going to win the cup this week. Because I've got a lovely wife, all that, had a lovely wedding, getting a house tomorrow, and my groomsman bought me a Switch. So
holy shit! No way.
Yeah, mental, isn't it? One of those things is more important than the rest, and I'll let you decide which one of those things.
Well, I don't need to. I don't need to obviously work out what that is because I know what it is. Are you going to get Mario Party then? Or
I might get Mario Party at some point. We've got Mario Kart. Picked up the new Zelda the other day, and I've got Captain Toad Treasure Tracker coming tomorrow, so me and the wife can hunt for treasure. Oh, we got that.
Sounds fantastic.
That bloody Goose game. Have you heard about that?
I've played Goose Game. It's brilliant.
Oh, mate, incredible. Absolutely incredible.
You see, and they say grade A titles are dead.
Exactly. And all you need is a couple of Aussies thinking, right, what if we made a game centred around a goose that was a dickhead?
For me, winning the cup is, I did mention them in the smooth recap, but it bears repeating. I think the New York Islanders are going to win. Having won 7 games in a row without Jordan Eberle, Leo Komarov, Casey Cizikas, Matt Martin, Tom Kunackle, and Andrew Ladd.
Okay.
Now I get it.
Well,
some of those things, like
of those
Sesame
players
Street,
is completely different to the others. But
I get it. Some of those is Sesame Street. Some of these things are not like the other. I understand, but still, they're all forwards. It's like to take 6 forwards out of any team's lineup, and for them to still win 7 in a row. That is bloody impressive. Maybe Barry-Trotz is a good coach. Who knew?
Is that impressive, or is that actually a credit to how piss poor the roster building has been for the New York Islanders for the last however many years? I think it
yeah, good point.
Probably speaks a bit more to the latter. But what can you do?
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, who's getting relegated?
Who's getting relegated? Joel Eriksson Ek is going to get relegated for flinching. Have you seen this little clip, Dan?
I have seen the little clip. I've seen this little flinch.
Fantastic. For anyone who hasn't, it's Stars Wild from the other night. 6-3 Stars, by the way. Don't worry about it. 6 goals unanswered. Forget about it. Whistle goes in the corner. Joel Eriksson X fancies a bit of afters and give a Stars player a slash. Then realises that Stars player is Jamie Benn, and Jamie Benn does that classic moving his head towards him and going, ugh! And Eriksson Ek flinches like nobody's business. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of where I can defend him, but I can't, unfortunately.
It's a shame, really,
I got nothing.
Because Ben, being a good old Western Canadian boy that he is, heavy old-time hockey and all that, it's a shame to see a supposedly soft European player balking at even the idea of a good old Canadian boy approaching him. It's not a good look for the Swedes out there.
It's true. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to relegate the San Jose Sharks. I'm going to throw some in the spirit of Dimitri Filipovic or Jason Paul or friend of the show, Micah McCurdy. I'm going to throw some stats at you, Will. Here are the San Jose Sharks so far this season. Goals for, 29th. Goals against, 31st.
Okay.
Chances for, 20th. Chances against, 30th. Corsi, 20th. Shots for, 22nd. Shots against, 19th. Combined save percentage of 875. Combined goals against of 391. Now,
not very good, really, is it?
I'm not essentially what you would call a hockey man, Will, but I don't think those numbers are very good.
I mean, yeah, but Patrick Marlowe's got 6 points in 9 games, so that's all right.
That's true, and he's making basic salary, so he's done a favour. That's nice.
It's all a bit worrying, isn't it? Really,
it's very worrying because even though the 2 goalies are playing poorly, as I discussed with Paul Campbell when he was on the show, it's not. Sometimes it's the goalie's fault, but it's not always the goalie's fault. And Martin Jones has faced the 3rd most high danger chances against him, and Aaron Dell is facing the 3rd closest shot distance against him. So it's not that the players are even helping out their goalies much either.
It's almost like losing a 40-goal player has affected them.
1 40-goal player, and that's it. You're telling me that's it? The whole team's derailed?
Wusses. 40 goals is 40 goals, though, Dan. It's not just a 40-goal player and your captain. Like, not every team can be the New York Islanders. Not every team has an Anders Lee waiting in the wings to take over the situation.
I don't want to bring up Cap Friendly and the San Jose Sharks in the same sentence, but I did have a quick check before the show, and they're committed to 60... This is without re-signing Kevin Labanc. So if Kevin Labanc doesn't re-sign, they've still got 13 players signed for next year for $63.5 million.
Well, he is going to re-sign, so make that 14 players for $64.5 million. When he signs his 8-year, $8 million total contract.
Man, Carson looks all over the place as well. He's just... I don't know what's going on with that team. It's insane. It is insane.
Who'd have thought paying a man with 1 foot would be a problem? Who could have seen it coming? Who could have seen it coming where 3 of your highest paid, your elite defence scorer are all 33 and older? Or however old Carlson is. All right, the only one who's not over 30 is has 1 foot. Like what? I don't know. What do you want from him? It's like we didn't like forget to start the podcast, did we? And we like skipped a couple of seasons.
I mean, maybe it's like Flight the Navigator, where at some point both of us fell down into a ditch somewhere. We woke up and it was like 8 years later.
Yeah.
And Eric Carlson's now in the final, and like, you know, Brent, but they're all in the final year of those ridiculous contracts, and they're sort of 36 and 38 or whatever.
Nah, I think it's just that Carlson has 1 foot, and everybody else is getting older. They're brand new captains. What, 29, 30? You could argue that they've lost Eric Carlson as well, in a way.
Well, they've lost a percentage of him.
Yeah, all jokes aside, like they've still physically got a player that wears number 65, but if he's not playing like Eric Carlson, he's not Eric Carlson.
God, 31st in goals against. That's shocking.
That is rough. Yeah, it's funny.
That is rough. How many starters and scratches you got?
I've got a pair of each.
I've only got 2 and 1. I'll go first then, I guess.
Go on, hit me with it.
This was something else to bring up, Will. I'm going to start the opera.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
As last week it was, I don't know, hashtag Opera Day or Opera Appreciation Day or something, and I mentioned that I was a fan of the opera, and you wanted to talk to me about it. So, any questions, Will? How can I help you here?
You don't like opera, Dan?
I do like opera, Will, I'm afraid.
Like, I don't get it. Obviously, I understand opera enough. I just don't know what to say. I completely forgot.
I've broken your brain.
You really have.
Of all the things I've ever said to you, this is the one you're like, no, hang on, what?
That's just mental. Like, nobody likes opera.
I mean, they do, and have done for literally hundreds of years.
But you say, oh, Jesus Christ, it's like you're mad into Renaissance paintings. Like, so
no, but I am a man of culture, Will. I like art. I like art. I like opera. I like classical music. Do you know how much I like opera, Will? I have an opera tattoo. That's how much I like opera.
Yeah, mate, I've got tattoos. That doesn't mean I necessarily care about things as much as my skin would claim I do. Right.
That's a very poor choice of tattoo, then, Will.
Well, no, the tattoos are there to be terrible. Okay, how did you get into opera? Let's do this. Let's get through this quickly. Dan, how did opera begin? Take me back through the trade tree of opera and how it leads directly to you.
Yeah, somehow Jordan Eberle becomes Luciano Pavarotti or something. I don't know. Oh my God, yeah, with Ryan Spooner moving to Switzerland, if he goes and sees an opera, there we go.
Jesus Christ, it's over. Okay, so...
Anyway, my mum liked opera, and she was a huge fan of the Three Tenors. And she was just watching it one night, and I was upstairs, came downstairs, and I went to walk through the room, and Pavarotti was blasting out one of his solos, and I was kind of transfixed. I don't know why, but something about it just spoke to me. And then I just started like looking into it a bit more, reading about it, and all operatic stories are fascinating because most of them are just tragedies. Opera is tragedy. That's most of what it is. It's a jilted lover. It's usually a jilted lover, actually. Or somebody trying to escape hell or something like that. But that's how I got into it.
So what is it you actually like about opera? To be fair, I've never had more than a cursory experience with opera, but I understand that there's good storytelling, probably, and like there is definitely skill in operatic singing, but it's just one of those things I do not understand in the slightest.
I think you have to be of a certain mindset. You have to be of a certain mindset to appreciate it, because I'm the kind of guy who can enjoy, like I said before, I'm a huge fan of wrestling, and I'll watch Japanese wrestling, and it's much better with Japanese commentary. I have no idea what they're saying, not a single clue, apart from Americanized words that are used like suplex or pile driver or something. Those words are Americanized, and there's not a Japanese word for suplex, so they will just say it. Everything else in between, every other single word, I don't have a single clue what the Japanese commentators are saying. But it's like a passion. You can kind of feel it. It's a weird thing to explain. So my favorite opera is Pagliacci, which is about it's a very quickly. It's about a guy who plays a clown in a show,
Yeah.
and his wife is having an affair.
Okay.
He doesn't know at the time. Another guy makes an advancement on his wife. She like brushes him aside and laughs him off, saying like, "You're worthless. Why would I ever look at you?" This guy then finds out the wife is actually having an affair with someone else. So he goes and tells the husband to spite her, not realizing that it would drive the husband. It drives the husband insane, basically. So during the show, the husband and wife are performing together in front of this audience, and the play mimics their life together. And it turns out in the play, she's having an affair. And while this is happening in the show, he starts to lose his mind, and he kills her during the show. He actually kills her during the show, but the audience think it's part of the show. So they're cheering and applauding, and he's actually just killed his wife. The guy she's having an affair with rushes on stage to save her, and the husband kills him as well. At this point, the audience realise what's going on. And it's the way it's done, and there's a clip of Pavarotti singing a song from Pagliacci, probably the most famous song, and it's on YouTube. And it's absolutely mesmerising. And I have no idea what he's saying. But he's just singing this song, and you can see like the emotion in his face and everything. And the last line, so this guy's dressed as a clown. He's just killed his wife and her lover on stage in front of an audience. And as the curtain comes down, he just says the comedy is over. And that line just hits me like a slap in the face. That line is amazing. It's such a powerful line to encapsulate everything that's just happened in that entire show. As I just find as a piece of art, I really like Edgar Allan Poe's short stories. Like, I love them. Like, if everyone listens to this, if you're into like sort of dark gothic kind of writing, or even like monster movies, or stupid, like you like horror films, stupid stuff like that, like read Edgar Allan Poe. He's amazing. He is absolutely amazing. Like the Black Cat is one of the best things I've ever read, and it's like this really, really short story, but it's amazing. I'm a cultured man, Will. That's what it is.
It definitely seems that way, and I'm going to have to believe you until proven otherwise, unfortunately.
Yeah, sorry. No top of the pops for me. It's a straight opera this week.
Straight onto not even the proms. Like it's
yeah.
That's how antiquated your music taste is.
There we go. All right. What are you starting?
Bringing us straight back into modern times. I'm going to start the Blue Jackets social media team, the first social media team of the year that we're starting. Have you seen the video of when the Lightning meet Post Malone?
I haven't, no.
So it's just a little photo of a few Lightning players doing old arms around each other with Post Malone in the middle. And the Blue Jackets commented on the Instagram post for it by the NHL, saying, in quotation marks, Alexa, play I Fall Apart by Post Malone. And it's just, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. That's the sort of stuff, that's what social media is for. That's what commenting is for. That's peak team commenting at other team Instagram feeds is designed for. And hats off to the Blue Jackets. That was incredible.
I think since Vegas have come into the league, everybody, like everyone's Twitter game, everyone's Instagram game has had to step up, because they came out of the gate hot, and everyone loved it, and then all the other teams were kind of like, actually, yeah, we should be doing this. We should be taking the piss more, that kind of thing.
There were teams still doing some stuff before Vegas came along. Like, I know the Kings have always been good at that sort of stuff. The Blue Jackets have been doing it for a while, and the Stars have always been good at that sort of thing. But you're right, it's almost uncorked it, and the teams that were leagues ahead in that field already have just been like, right, let's crack on. All bets are off now.
My second starter is somewhat surprising, but Gary Bettman found his way into my black cart this week after he made a comment at the outdoor game. And I like this because it's just pure snidiness. So he was asked about the playoff format, about changing it. And he said, essentially, we have a system that we think that works, and everyone seems to like it, except Leafs fans.
I
was like, oh, Gary, you cheeky little devil.
Part of that's true.
Yeah. I mean, part of it's true. I think no one likes it. I don't like it. I should like it, but I don't like it.
But then it's really, the Atlantic Division is the main division that's being plagued by the issues at the moment. Like, it could easily happen to any other division. It just is happening to the Atlantic at the moment.
Yes, because last year the three best teams that were like kind of in that situation.
Yeah.
But that like but then we get to like say you get to the playoffs and who knows what happens anyway. So okay, yeah. Well, your other starter.
My other starter, just going to be a quick one. I don't want to talk about it at all. It's my one for the year, and I'm going to start the Bruins top line, and I'll take no further questions.
Well, luckily for you, we might have to talk about those later.
Yeah, I did foresee that, but credit where credit's due. Fucking.
Okay, so you've got two scratches. Then did you say?
Yeah, I've got a pair.
Okay, you go first, then, mate.
My first is going to be I'm going to scratch anyone who is still buying Edmonton and Buffalo stock at this stage of the game. It's all going to come crumbling down, people. It's all going to come crumbling down. Like, there's no way that we're going to get to. I'd argue the end of November and still have the Oilers at the top of the Pacific and the Sabres in a playoff spot. We've seen this time and time again, especially with the bloody Sabres. Last year played 10 on the bounce. Stop mugging yourselves off and stop setting yourself up for a fall.
Does this in any way relate to usage of players by any chance?
No, if you could guarantee that Drysdale and McDavid were going to be able to carry Edmonton for the rest of the year, then yeah, I'd say bet on them all the way. But unfortunately, the rest of that roster, even playing 30 minutes a night combined between them, is enough of a detriment. Do you know how many goals you can score in 30 minutes of play? A lot.
No.
Quite a few.
I think Dimitri put it out, didn't he, that with McDavid and Draisaitl on the ice, your Oilers are outscoring teams something like 17-4, but with them not on the ice, they're getting outscored like 25-3 or something terrible like that.
And even just isolated to McDavid, it was something like double digits to low single digits with him on the ice, and then they were being outscored like 8-5 with him off the ice and stuff like that. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Just one player is enough. Not that Leon Draisaitl isn't the second best player in the league, but
of course. Behind Pasternak.
Behind Mitch Marner.
Okay, let's move on. I'm having one scratch this week, and it's one of those weeks where players getting paid a fuck ton of money for being bad really irks me. I am a complicated man, as we've described, and I've subscribed "Snake It Till You Make It" a million times, but this week it's just grating me that Sergei Bobrovsky, currently sitting at an .870 save percentage, making $10 million, just really grinded my gears.
Oh my god!
Oh, God,
who could have seen it coming?
Who would have predicted?
If only there was a warning. A cautionary tale. There you go. If only there were a cautionary tale within the NHL about paying goalies $10 million a year or more, and how terribly that could go for you when they don't play very well, or even don't continue their MVP sort of level playing. If only there was out there. So, to be fair to Dale Talon, that's his name. To be fair to Dale Talon, he couldn't possibly foresee what would happen if he paid Sergei Bobrovsky $10 million a season. Couldn't have seen it. What can you do?
I think your choice of phrase there was "who would have known he wouldn't play very well." I think can be changed to "who would have known he wouldn't just play well."
I could see him putting up these kinds of numbers, but I would have expected it in May, potentially June, not October and November.
Well, if you'd have said to me I'd have expected it in May 2023, I'd have said, yeah, all right, yeah, maybe at that point he'll, I think he would have slipped down a little bit, but maybe he'll turn it around. Jesus, this $870, $10 million, fucking hell.
It's a bad start. Bad look for Mr. Bobrovsky. Officer Bob.
All right, what's your final scratch?
My final scratch links it back to the beginning, which is incredible because I'm just that great a guy. I'm going to scratch the creepy DJ at my wedding from the weekend. Did I tell you about this at the time?
No, please go on.
Oh my fucking god! So this DJ, right? He grabs me and Grace before he starts the discotheque portion of the evening. Presumably just to go through a couple of bits and bobs about first dance and all that sort of nonsense. So he starts off by saying, your Will and your Grace. Yep, that makes sense. He should be privy to that information. I would imagine he knows who's getting married, sort of thing, and relatively obvious which one of us is which in that regard. And then he points at my daughter and says, and I assume that's little Luna. which is the first. Hang on a fucking second. What's this all about? He proceeds to explain, for reasons which still aren't apparent to me, that he Facebook stalked us.
What?
Yeah, like I'm gobsmacked. Even I don't have any answers for you, Dan. I don't know why. I don't know why he did it. I'm sure he probably said at the time, but I was just a bit too like, what the fuck is going on here, to take it in. So he Facebook stalked Grace and myself, subsequently finding out who Luna was, and also mentioned multiple times that I'm a hockey player, which it's just weird because I don't have a profile picture of me playing hockey on Facebook. Yeah, and he even went on to say that he was annoyed that he couldn't, like I forget whether he said he couldn't see pictures or he couldn't see much or whatever. Basically alluded to the fact that he tried to see all throughout our profiles, but they were set to private. So I'm not only going to scratch this very, very creepy DJ, who also did a relatively shabby job. It's just the whole idea of admitting to stalking people on social media. Like, you know, everybody does it. You know, it's like picking your nose while you're driving. Everybody does it. But you don't get to your destination and say, cool, I had a proper good feeler. I was proper digging for gold on the way over here. Or the next time you see someone say, oh, I was looking for all your holiday photos from 2016. Looks like you had a good time in Magaluf.
I was going to say, during the evening, I hope he would have done something like that, where he would have said, okay, folks, let's go back to 2017, on that night that Luna was conceived, and Will and Grace, when they first met, danced to this song, and you're like, how the fuck does he know? Like, how does he know that? What's happening?
You absolute freak. Yeah, I still don't know what to say about that, quite frankly, but it was very unsettling to say, especially where I think he was like 6'5", 6'6". He was taller than I am. Not that I'm enormous, but he was tall enough that he definitely classed a sort of Slender Man-esque figure. Like if Slender Man was a 55-year-old DJ from Norfolk.
Wedding DJ.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh, that's amazing. That is amazing. God, I've got my intro for the show next week.
Have you got to find it all on Facebook first? It's just like, what?
Yeah, the intro is going to be with my good friend, a man who, and then I'm just going to read out your entire life off Facebook.
A man who likes pages such as...
A man who first set up a Facebook account in 2013 and joined the group. Wow, hockey, isn't that cool?
A man whose MySpace URL is http.
That would have been worse, wouldn't it? If you brought up like your band's MySpace or something.
Oh, fuck, you know. Oh, I don't.
Jesus Christ.
I hadn't really thought about it until now, but maybe I should lock my windows when I go to bed.
Yeah, maybe.
It's not.
Hopefully he's not waiting at your house for you tomorrow with a bottle of champagne.
I just assumed you were having a housewarming party and thought you'd need a DJ. Oh my god. It's not the fact that you did it, like, fair play to an extent. Like, I've definitely stalked 1,000 people on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever. You know, everyone likes a little root around. We're curious beings by nature, but I'd love to see him at Christmas. Like, everyone.
Well, if you get a present from him.
I was thinking more. Okay.
There's gonna be a box under the tree. Like, who the hell's this from? Like, enjoy these new headphones from your best friend. Who are these from? I don't know.
Oh my god! I think anything weird and unexplained that happens in my life from here on out will be credited to the DJ. Unnamed DJ.
It's the DJ. The DJ did it. It's an episode, mate. You're in an episode of Black Mirror.
It's quite the opposite of the song "Last Night a DJ Saved My Life."
Maybe we'll have to be panicked by the Smiths, I think.
Yeah. Oh mate. If I'd had my head switched on, I'd have requested it just repeatedly while staring at him, only singing along to the chorus.
making a slow throat slit with your finger. It's like just staring him down. Oh dear me, that is insane. That is insane.
I'm glad that you think it's mental. Cause
yeah, that is mental. That's fucking that's some pre-crime shit. That is.
Yeah, it's proper
absolute pre-crime. All right, let's get on to some more stuff. Don't forget, folks, you can go to Red Circle Podcast, find 2 Brits 1 Puck, and if you like, you can sponsor or donate to the show. Also, please do jump on iTunes and leave a 5-star review, because if you don't, I will kill next door's dog, and Will might get killed by a DJ. And I don't think you want that on your conscience, do you? So please go and do that. So in part 2, as well, of our interview with our confirmed new bestie, Meredith Foster, she talks about the treatment of the Swedish women's national team, which is absolutely astounding when you hear what these women had to go through to just represent their country. You would think it's the Olympics and everyone gets the best of everything, and oh my god, like the national teams get taken care of, and they just don't. It's pretty atrocious. We also talk about women's teams in Scandinavia, and I unwittingly made Meredith very nervous about the great new TV deal that's for the Swedish Women's League, almost nearly ruining it for her very quickly, and nearly ruining our new best friendship. But luckily, we brought it back with talk of makeup and glitter. So here she is, Meredith Foster, part 2. I wanted to, just moving on then, talking about hopefully growing the women's game and pushing on a bit. Obviously, the Swedish women's national team.
Yes.
This may seem like I'm asking you to open the TARDIS and write down a list of everything inside. But could you explain the situation for the uninitiated about why they boycotted training camp and the Five Nations tournament?
Sure. Okay, so this goes back a few years. Back in 2006, the Swedes basically shocked the world because they won silver at the Olympics. They knocked out the US to get to the gold medal game, and no one expected this. This is the only time in the history of the women's game at the Olympics that the gold medal game wasn't between Canada and the United States. And then since then, everyone figured, okay, this is going to be a really good trajectory of this team and of increasing parity in the, I guess, like the big nations of women's hockey. And that's really not what happened. It really just sort of went downhill. And after the 2014 Olympics, they brought in a coach named Leif Bork, who had zero experience in the women's game whatsoever. He'd won one sort of, I can't remember if it was a silver medal or a gold medal. I think it was a silver. He'd won one thing as a coach back in the mid 80s. So not even in my lifetime, I don't think. And he destroyed that team. He was very much enabled by the old boys club at the top, but it got to the point where he kicked off one of the generational defenders of this era of Swedish hockey, Emma Eliasson. He removed her from the team because she didn't agree with him. He bullied and fat-shamed the captain, Jenny Azerholt, into leaving the team. So she continued her career in the SDHL for a couple more years, but she left the national team. She wasn't going to play on them anymore. They wound up coming in 7th at the Olympics in 2018, which is just an absolute low in their history. And then at Worlds this year, they wound up getting relegated. So they're not in the top tier of the IAHF anymore. And he finally was let go after the 2018 Olympics. The federation actually quashed run revolt already against him. The players wrote a letter just like, we are not happy. We're not making any progress. He was a very old school style coach is what the way that people described it to me. But, it's my way or it's the highway. And
in hockey? No, you're kidding.
Oh, I know, it's stunning. It's remarkable that a man would have this attitude. But yeah, he had zero business coaching the team, and the results showed on the ice. They were horribly demoralized. And by the time Ylva Martinsson came in 2018, it was just completely scraping at the bottom of the barrel. And so the team finally, after they got relegated, they said, we've had enough. And they put out a list when they declared the boycott. They put out a list of reasons why they were boycotting, and among the reasons were they were getting, how like whenever a national team travels, like you get clothes, that have like your country's logo or whatever on it. They were being given men's clothes despite the repeated requests of like, hey, can we have some stuff that fits us because we're not dudes? But they were just like, no, this is equality. Equality is the men's stuff because this is just, it's one for everybody. They were being given supplements that were expired like months in the past from when they got them.
Jesus.
Their travel arrangements were ridiculous. Like one tournament was in Turku in Finland, and they had to travel back to Stockholm. And if you look on a map between where Turku is, it's on the southern west coast of Finland, and where Stockholm is, it's a really short distance between the two of them. They made them take a holiday ferry back, and the ferry takes about 10 hours. A flight takes 1 hour. So that's 10 hours of travel that you have to do regardless. And if you're not based in Stockholm, if you're based up in Luleå, like way up north in Sweden, that's more travel time. So stuff like that. Also, very little insurance for any time they set foot on the ice for Sweden. They weren't being reimbursed for the times that they had to miss work to go to training camps or to tournaments. Just all kinds of just really horrible stuff. And they got sick of it. God love them. They got sick of it. And they're like, all right, we're not doing this anymore. We're done. And so they they boycotted for 2 months, and they finally reached a resolution. And my personal favorite part of the Federation's response was like the day this was declared, they came out with a response that said, we are surprised. Like, you know what? I bet you fucking are, because I bet you thought you could get away with this forever. And then also the Anders Larsson, who is the head of the Swedish Ice Hockey Association, he didn't say anything for 6 days after this was declared. Like, you have a national team on strike, and you're just dead silent for almost a week. Like, the Swedish media was going nuts with this because, like, this is the one man you would expect to hear from. Nothing. Absolutely nothing for 6 whole days.
It's like they were treating them like a beer league team, basically.
100%. 100%. Even probably a beer league team would have been treated better than they were because, again, it's this huge old boys network that doesn't see the women as being valuable. But the strike did its thing. The tournament is still off, but they're getting back into training camp. They're getting ready for another tournament that is it's in Germany. I want to say it's in Germany in November. But the fact that they've started up again is really, really good. And also the coach that they have now, Ilva Martinson, she's great. I love Ilva quite a lot. I think she's the right person for the job. She just kind of happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time in terms of the boycott happening and whatnot, because she was actually one of the ones who won silver in 2006. So she knows what they're going through. She knows what they're fighting against. And she'll also, whether it's publicly or whether it's just, maybe calling up players, she knows what they're going through, and she'll know how to advocate them and how to support them while still not pissing off the men. So hopefully now that they have, they've got proper insurance now, they'll get compensation for missing work, because you don't, playing hockey is not a full-time job for only but a handful of women in the world. So they'll be able to support themselves and pay the rent and get some of the respect that they so richly deserve.
It sounds like a lot like the US women's boycott of a couple of years ago, but with even more extreme lows for where they started, which is just
I would agree.
Crazy, because you think of Scandinavia and you think of slightly more progressive nations and things like that, but to see Sweden, it's the thing of, we've got a successful women's team. You know what that successful women's team needs? It needs a man's touch, because why wouldn't it? And it just completely blew up. The hope is the fact that they're missing the Four Nations even after resolving the boycott. That'll hopefully be even more of a stamp for the Federation to say, look, you've actually had some consequences now. Like, let's move forward and make sure this never happens again.
Exactly. And also, too, the Four Nations tournament was due to be held up in Luleå, which is quite possibly the best environment for women's hockey in the entire country. And this would have been, because I've been up there, I've been to their rink, I've seen how they treat their SDHL team. That would have been a really despite, the trouble of getting all the way up there, because you're like an hour south of the Arctic Circle, it would have been a fantastic showcase for, oh, hey, Blaine, what's up? It would have been a fantastic showcase for Swedish women's hockey and how much it's grown. And now they pissed it away, essentially.
Do you believe the women's teams and leagues do they get more respect in Scandinavia, or have you noticed this is just the same all over the world?
It depends on where you're talking about. This is a really interesting case, because in Sweden, like we were just talking about, you see the women's team's conditions were so bad that they were boycotting. Whereas in Finland, the women's team actually they don't get all the respect they deserve. Of course, it sucks, but it is what it is. But they have Pasi Mustonen is the coach of Team Finland, and he is one of the most consistently vocal advocates for equality that I've seen. And as far as a coach, like, I call him the honey badger because he does not give a shit. He will say whatever is on his mind in the media, and it's awesome. Like, he called some of the Swedish, not Swedish, sorry, some of the Finnish ice hockey dudes. He called them dinosaurs in one article that he wrote. He doesn't care. He's great. And they also get things like they get pretty good medal bonuses for when they succeed. They're taken pretty well care of. But the women's league in Finland gets significantly less. So the league isn't treated as well as it is over in Sweden, whereas the national team in Sweden isn't treated as well over it is in Finland.
Because of course, you can't possibly have both. That'd be asking far too much. That'd be ridiculous.
Oh no.
It's one or the other. Yeah, if you're representing the national team, great. But you can't have any stability in your day-to-day hockey business. But
there was actually the Kiekko Espoo. They used to be the Blues. They've changed names like 3 times in the past 5 years. But they had I think it was a playoff game last spring. They got moved, or they were going to get moved out of their arena so that a junior boys team could play there instead. I mean, it's shit like that.
God.
I know, right?
That's what can you even say to that?
I know. You just want to throw your hands up and scream and maybe hit your head against a wall a couple of times. And so there's work to be done everywhere. But on a national team level, Finland they've really invested since the 2014 Olympics. They've really given these women the tools to succeed, and it's worked. It's worked. I mean, you look at the World Championships last year, they should have won that gold medal. They got robbed as far as I'm concerned, but they put on an absolute hell of a show, and it was really an announcement to the world of just how much this program has grown, that they were able to keep up with the U.S. and also to basically win the gold medal that they didn't actually win, but whatever. I'm still mad about that game, in case you can't tell.
I don't think it's irrational to be mad about a 1-goal game however many months afterwards. That's pretty standard fare for any sports fan.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, and that irrationality will start to even pursue even more now. You're into soccer as well. I mean,
no, it happens.
Oh yeah. These things.
I'm still mad that Granit Xhaka is captain, but I'll let it go. I know they voted on it. He's a good dude, but damn it. Anyway.
It's fine though, because when he gets sent off every game, it means he'll only be the captain for about 30 minutes every match, and then he can pass it on to whoever's left.
Oh God, fucking Arsenal, man.
You're preaching to the choir, Meredith.
Before Meredith flies into another soccer-induced rage, let's move on.
I just wanted to touch, Dan, just before we move on to something else. When you're saying the Finnish domestic league is sort of behind the Swedish domestic league as far as women's hockey is concerned, do you think the TV deal that the SDHL now has and the potential benefits from that, and further exposure and further profit margins and all that wonderful part of sports, if that's a success for Sweden, do you think that'll have a direct knock on to how Finland treats its domestic league?
I'm not sure. I would like to say that yes, if you see that, hey, if we put out a good product and actually get it to make it easier for an audience to access, but I'm really not sure. I would like to see more of the Liga get involved with the women's league, because the way that these leagues work in Sweden and in Finland is different than the way they work over here in the States. Okay. In terms of they're both administered underneath the national governing body, versus the NWHL being its own thing apart from USA Hockey, and how the CWHL was separate from Hockey Canada. So I think too, it'll also help if the Finnish national team continues to ascend, and they've got some really good young players in their pipeline. And if they keep Mustonen and they keep doing their thing, I think they can really keep growing. I think as more interest grows based on the national team, then it might be more likely to see more investment in the Nationalliga, and to see more interest, and that leading to more investment. But I don't know that it would be related to what they see next door.
Yeah, because I suppose in some ways they'd only have to look across the Atlantic and see, the moderate success of the women's leagues in North America to make changes within their own leagues. So
it comes down to priority, though. Like, are you making women and women's sports a priority for your federation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you at all concerned about the TV deal in that if it doesn't succeed, that there'll be lots of talk of, well, we tried it once and that's it, so what's the point?
That could definitely happen, but I wasn't, and then you mentioned it, and now I am.
Oh God, sorry.
It's all right. I don't know, and now I'm like, oh damn you! Now I'm thinking about this.
Oh no.
Well, for the uninitiated, Meredith, like how big a deal are sport channeling and is it C plus? Is it? Sorry, the other one.
Seymour Sport, I believe. Well, they got it on SB. You know what? I wrote a whole thing about this. Let me do the easy thing and just get my own article up.
Yeah, this is us exposing the lack of preparation we do with anything in life.
Oh, it's all right. You can see I didn't either.
That's good. We're all in the same boat. It's just understanding how, like, whether this is like them getting on ESPN for Finland or whether it's getting on the Golf Channel. Or...
You know what? It might kind of, if the stuff that they get on SBT is kind of like them getting on the BBC now. I don't know if that would be like BBC One or BBC Two or however many. I don't know how many y'all got now. There's quite.
We got a few. We tried to keep a few in stock.
My Indiana just came up so bad there, but really getting on the bigger public access channels is kind of the dream. That's what you want. And like people were watching. I know they had the SDHL finals were on SBT last year, and people were watching and people were paying attention. And I think that helped galvanize getting them more TV exposure because it's like, hey, people actually want to watch this. People give a shit, and that's wonderful.
It's the beauty of terrestrial TV. Like, you put anything on terrestrial TV and people are going to watch it, and then you're gonna mint new fans because of it.
Totally. I mean, even if it's just, and not to go back to my own stuff, but even if you just get some wingnut like me who wants it as background noise when I was watching the World Cup, and suddenly you have a new fan, that's successful right there.
Definitely, and that whole thing of having a program on or a game on after a big, highly anticipated bit of television, people are going to bleed into the next program and then, see, it's on, let's see what it's all about. Like, you have such a captive audience with terrestrial TV. It's really one that everybody should be trying to exploit.
Totally.
We do have something in common, is that we both cover our respective sports from the other side of the Atlantic. Do you ever feel like when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you've got to do is jump online, jump on Twitter to find out any news you can? Do you ever feel any pressure to do that?
I do that pretty much every morning, just naturally. I don't feel it as a pressure. Like, I love doing this. Like, even when I may not have the time to put to it that I want, this really is a passion project for me because I want to be able to get these women the exposure that they deserve. And for better or for worse, English is a much more widely spoken language than Finnish is. It's a much more widely spoken language than Swedish is. And so if I can get somebody over here who didn't know that, hey, there's a really awesome player because they just wouldn't have read about it in a language that they're, in a language that they're more familiar with, then that's absolutely worth it to me. And so it's not a pressure thing. It's just like, this is fun. This is fun. And this is something that I can do that is even if it's, it's one like grain of sand in the contribution that all the other people that cover women's hockey and women's sports period are doing. This is my little grain of sand. This is my little niche. And I'm going to do it right because it matters to me and it deserves as much dedication as I can give it.
You could have blown me away with that. I love that notion. Like, you are taking a stand and saying, okay, I'm going to be somebody who makes a difference. Like you may think it's, in my own little way, and I'm writing articles and things like that, but I want to be somebody that, and maybe an uninitiated person can come to this website and they can read my articles or read what I'm writing on Twitter and can say, actually, do you know what? She's right. I want to follow this through.
That's really what I want because, and part of I try not to get too intense about how I feel about society in general because I'll go nuts if I think about it too hard, especially in the current climate of the United States, but helping not just other women, but other minorities, non-binary people of different races, people of different genders. I come from a place of privilege. Like, I'm a middle-class white woman. I'm aware of this. And if people will listen more to me because I'm a middle-class white woman, okay, that sucks. Fuck you. Listen to other people, not me. But hey, if you get introduced to this from me and are able to broaden your horizons to listen to other people who you absolutely should be listening to, then okay, good. If I'm your introduction and then you find groups like, are you guys familiar with the Black Girl Hockey Club on Twitter at all?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've followed them.
Yes. Like, listen to them. And if somehow you get to them through me, I don't know how the hell that would happen. Good. That's what I want. Like, just to broaden people and to help them see that the world and hockey culture is not just this tiny little microcosm of cisgender white dudes. That's what I want.
It's a thing where, be it in sport or the wider society, like you can't control the privilege you have, but you can control how you use it to influence other people and what use your platform to expose.
That's exactly how I look at it. Like, I have the benefit of being an English speaker. My Swedish is getting better little by little, but if I can use this language that is my native language and spread the word of other people, cool, let's do it. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, and I'm going to do it as intensely as I can, because it matters to me. And if I see it mattering to other people, then that just makes me very happy.
And you're doing it from a fantastic place, like to be part of the Ice Garden and to be able to write about Nordic hockey from such an incredible platform, like arguably the peak of women's hockey journalism at this point.
Thank you.
Like, no, I mean, partly, unfortunately, nowhere else is really covering it that much. The major sort of outlets aren't. But yeah, the work at the Ice Garden, like you say, where Hannah started it all and set all you wonderful people up doing this incredible work, like, it's a perfect place to expose people to Nordic hockey. And yeah, you're doing fantastic work, Meredith.
Thank you so much. Like, I'm so glad that you guys, like what we're doing. And it's also, like, it's super cool to me to see guys like you, because I know how many people really care about ice hockey in the United Kingdom. And then there's you two who have decided, hey, you know what? We're going to talk about this thing. We're going to create our own you did like what I did. You created your niche. And I love that. And you're doing a wonderful job of it too. It's super cool to see how sport and fandom of sport, as god awful and garbage as it can get, it's cool to see the other side. It's cool to see people who work on the other side to make something better than what was already there.
It's very kind of you to say, Meredith. It's like we were saying from the top, like you can only do what you can do, and like sport should be enjoyed by absolutely everybody. It should be what brings us together, not what drives us apart. As cliche a statement as that is, but if you have enough people out there doing what they're enjoying doing, and that being a positive influence on other people, then that's all we can ask for.
Well, also too, like, I know Twitter is an absolute cesspool. I know you guys know that as well as I do. But being able, like, the good parts of sports Twitter, like I mentioned the Black Girl Hockey Club, there's Shireen Ahmed, who is a journalist, and she's in the Toronto area, and she focuses a lot on soccer and on issues that Muslim women all over the world face in sports, that it gives people of different voices and different backgrounds a perspective, and not only a perspective, but an audience and a platform that they can build and build and build and spread their ideas of how to be a decent fucking human being. And as you put it, using sport to bring people together, it's great. That's one of the reasons I stay on Twitter, despite how god-awful it is that I get my own perspectives broadened, and also to be able to amplify these voices who are doing incredible, important work.
Absolutely. And if you have to take a couple of less appealing aspects of Twitter with it to get to these fantastic people who are doing great work, I think we can all say it's a sacrifice worth making. Totally.
And no one to take breaks from Twitter and just be like, all right, fuck this shit for like a week, and then just practicing good self-care and as many relaxing online habits as possible. Just the usual stuff of like keeping yourself as healthy as possible when you need to. Always good. Until they ban the Nazis and ban all the fuckheads, then you got to do what you got to do.
I'll refer back to the heat death of the sun. So that's our timeline of that actually happening.
Yeah, I think you're right. I hate to say it, I think you're right.
Just a couple of little quick things before we wrap up. I noticed that on Twitter last night you wrote about having a makeup crisis.
Oh yes.
Within that though, there is a serious question: is that do you ever feel pressured you have to look a certain way when you go to what would say like a corporate event or something like that?
You know what? Probably, but I am a cranky, stubborn, half Italian, butch bisexual woman. If y'all don't like that, fuck you.
Oh my god,
So-
you fit in. Oh god, I think we can be best friends, Meredith. I feel we
good.
fit in so
Great.
well.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
my God.
I came out. I talked about this. I think a bit like a month ago because it was Bisexual Visibility Day, and like I don't like to talk about a tremendous amount, if any, about my personal life, but I want to talk about being an open bisexual and not conforming to gender standards, because when I came out, I didn't have anybody that looked like me. I didn't see this. Like I saw like David Bowie and Lou Reed, who were these androgynous people that I was attracted to this because it was different from anything that I'd ever seen. So I'm from Indiana. I grew up in a college town in Indiana, and I live in the biggest city in our state now. But even growing up in a college town, there was nobody that looked like me and was going through what I was going through. And so if people can see this and see like, all right, you're bald, you can also completely snatch your makeup better than the average just woman with long hair and, you know, red lipstick and high heels on. But okay, you're wearing a blazer and a Jack Skellington t-shirt to a corporate work event. That's awesome. So no, I don't. But it's because I refuse to bow to that pressure. I won't do it. There's nothing wrong with being a highly femme woman. Like people of all genders, wear as much makeup as you want. Wear as little as you want. You're not hurting anybody. Do whatever you want. Do you. But for me, I'm going to be bald. I'm going to have glitter on my face, and I'm going to feel fantastic.
I feel that's a sentiment in life I want to take into my own personal life, Meredith. And just amplify the amount of glitter that I use on a daily basis. The debacle last night was I got a sample of a new foundation primer, and it ruined my foundation. It looked like pieces were like chunking off of my face, and I had to just start over. And like, oh god, okay. But we got through, we got it done, and it turned out great. So I was happy. So can you repurpose it as really good like Halloween makeup if you go as like
ooh,
like the Thing from the Fantastic Four, maybe?
Ooh,
yeah. There you go.
I was going to say the cop from the end of RoboCop who gets driven into the thing of acid. But, I wasn't sure how well you know that reference.
I'm just delighted. Like just be walking around, like giving out candy to the kids in my neighborhood. Oh, that's a chunk of my skin just fell into your treat bag. Sorry. See what happens.
Okay. Don't worry, it's non-GMO, so you can still eat it.
Okay, last thing from me.
Sure.
How do you like to chill out when you're not talking about or watching or writing about hockey?
I like to travel a lot. I like to read a lot, and I like to mess around in my kitchen and play with recipes, or just hang. I don't like to bake because it's too specific, but I really like to cook. And cooking for me involves nudging my cat out of the kitchen and trying not to burn him if I'm trying to make something. Or just put on some music and just chill. Like, I guess this is all very basic and very boring stuff, but I live a very wordy life, is what I tell people, because I write so much. So if I'm, writing some stuff that's not related to sports or related to my job, I just like to come up with stories, or go see the world if I have the time and the opportunity and the money.
Have you got somewhere on the agenda for where you're going to travel to next, Meredith?
My mom and I want to go. My mom's my travel buddy. We are thinking of going to Madrid in the spring.
Ooh,
so
nice.
That might happen, which I think would be fantastic. I really want to go to Poland. Poland is really high on my list. I also want to I went to Mexico in September. I want to get down to Peru. It's really the world fascinates me. It absolutely fascinates me. And so if I have the chance and there's a decent plane fare and it's safe, fuck it, why not?
I was going to say England's lovely this time of year, but it isn't. And this country's in its own crisis at the moment, so
I'm sorry about all that.
Moment.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
You don't need to be sorry for self-inflicted wounds, Meredith. So it's fine. It's fine.
That's true.
We've got our own internal issues to sort out, rather than other people apologising for our own mistakes. As much as we appreciate it.
You see what we have to live with over here now. So it's solidarity, sympathy, I guess. Of just
it's absolutely karma for laughing at the state of America for the last 3 years, and we're finally like, oh, would you look at that? We've been planting our own seeds all this time.
Yeah, it's the classic ha 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 America, UK hold my beer. I guess we deserve this one. Okie dokie. Anything else from you, Will?
No, to be quite frank, I think we've. Hold on. A very important question. What are you cooking for dinner tonight, Meredith?
I think I'm gonna make a good beef stew because it's starting to get fall. It's starting to get into fall here.
Yeah,
So
nice and hearty and filling.
What'd you say?
Nice and hearty, very filling and warming.
Yes, I think that's the plan. So we'll see.
Fantastic. Please, Meredith, anything you'd like to promote before we leave?
I don't have anything immediate, but if you would like to follow me on Twitter, I am at Foster Writes. That's FosterWrites. I always have to do that a bit slowly because I forget how to spell my own Twitter handle. But if you're interested in Nordic hockey or just random thoughts as they occur to my head, that's where you can find me. That's where you can communicate with me. And yeah.
Okay, there we go. Meredith, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. This was a blast.
Thank you for coming on. We had a whale of a time.
Cheers, guys. Take care. I'll talk to you later.
No problem.
See you, Meredith.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, there we go. Thank you again to Meredith for that. We had a really good time. And we've been talking back to on Twitter, which is great, as we said last week. Twitter can bring people together from all corners of the planet, and that's a nice thing. I do want to get into this before anything else. Sidney Crosby.
You are rightly getting a lot of backlash on the internet, and
No.
I'm annoyed because you need to start signing off on the tweets you put out on the joint account, because I hate for there to potentially be people out there who haven't listened to the episode that think Sidney Crosby is better than Mario Lemieux when he's only better than Wayne Gretzky.
I do love the idea. As we all know, folks, Will's about as active on that Twitter account as, well, I was going to say as a DJ on a Facebook account, but that's not true either.
About as active on that Twitter account as I am on my own Twitter account.
On your own Twitter account, actually, yeah. I always like the idea that you wake up in the morning to like 9 notifications and you're like, oh, what the fuck she said now? All right. So I made a little comment last week about at some point we have to accept that Sidney Crosby is now in the god tier of hockey players. And let me get a little disclaimer before we get into this. I am not saying that Mario Lemieux isn't one of the greatest players who ever lived.
I think the quote last week was, send Ross Johnston back to the 80s. And he'd make Mario Lemieux look like Ross Johnston.
I'm going to revise my original point a tad. And I'm saying now, the top 3 ever chat needs to now be top 4 ever. It needs to not just be now Gretzky or Lemieux. It should now say Gretzky or Lemieux, Crosby. Let me make my case a bit, because I said last week I can't really get into it because it was a quick thing and we had obviously more stuff to talk about. So, did you see that play in the week where he flattened himself against the glass to stop the puck going around the glass when the goalie hit it?
No, but I'm getting this wonderful image of him turning himself 2-dimensional and sliding around.
Do you know what he did? He put his hands up as though he was being arrested, and just flattened himself against the glass, literally in that pose. Because I can't remember who they were playing, but the goalie was obviously clearing the puck and fired it around the glass, and Crosby stopped, and it literally, obviously, it was right there. It just dropped to his stick, and he just played it across the crease for a chance. Genius, absolute genius, but something so simple and so small. I'm sure players have done that before, but you just don't see it all the time. And it's such a simple thing. You think, why has no one ever tried that before? It doesn't make it, you should do that all the time if you can. Crosby is a genius. He is a sniper. He is a playmaker. He is a possession monster. He is deceptively as strong as shit and supremely hard to shake off the puck. He's elusive, and he'll grind in the corners if he has to as well. Fucking one-handed, backhanded, pucks out of the air to himself that he then volleys in. He literally does everything. Everything. And the top 3 are always considered to be Gretzky, Lemieux, and Orr. Now, if you want to tell me Orr and Lemieux are better than Crosby, fine. That's kind of not the argument I'm making now. Having thought about it, yeah, it's just silly to say, right, he's now in the top 3 and that's it. But I think, and this is a real thing in hockey, I believe, more than any other sport, we have a real issue admitting that a player who plays now is as good or as better as any player who's compared to them from 30, 40, 50 years ago. And hockey players, I know hockey players themselves, I know if you said to Crosby, where do you think you are all time? He'd be like, oh, I'm only 50th, because he's super humble and all hockey players are for the team and blah, blah, blah. But everything he's done for over a decade, everything, just watch his highlights. He's a genius. He is a genius. And if you put a package together of Crosby's 20 best plays and Lemieux's 20 best players, right? You give them to a non-fan, and you say, can you tell me which one of these players is regarded as one of the best, and which one is regarded as clearly the second best player who ever lived? I do not believe for 1 second those non-fans could tell you which one was which.
I still think it's apples and oranges, though, isn't it?
I agree, right? But we're so ingrained in this culture in hockey that those are the top 3 players ever, and that's it. There's never like any chance. Like you hear it as soon as you get into hockey, the conversation comes up somewhere. Who are the best 3 players who ever played a game? And it's always those 3. Now I'm not saying that's crazy, but at some point you've got to say, all right, now there's a guy now who is as good as at least 2 of those players. I've said before, like Crosby's playing in an era where every single minute detail is taken care of. Everything. Do you not think every single game Crosby has played for over a decade, every single game, everyone has a game plan against just him? Now I get it. There's other players who've played with him who are good, like Malkin, Kessel when he was playing really well, anything like that. I get it. But since day one, he was not just Sidney Crosby, a good hockey player. He's like, holy shit, this is Sidney Crosby. And like we just go, well, no, there's those 3 players and that's it. At some point we've got to say, all right, there's a guy here who is as good as. I don't want to get into like accolades and all that stuff, but he's won multiples of everything at every level. And I just think like it just seems sacrilege to say a player can be as good as. And I don't get it. At some point we've got to start appreciating what we've got. And Crosby is still, in my opinion, he's still underappreciated.
I think the problem is it's firstly that he's still playing. Like he's still playing in the same way. I forget who it was that mentioned Yager when we were talking about this sort of thing. But Jason Paul, was it?
I think it's Rob McGregor. I think.
There you go.
Hey, Rob.
Somebody mentioned Yager. We're two in there. But is it any surprise that or Gretzky and Lemieux are basically from the same generation? Like, or is a little bit preceding the 2 of them, but it's a generational thing. Like, we see those 3 as the best 3 to play the game because they are the best 3 players, undeniably, from like the most recent generation that not everybody was part of, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I get it.
When Gretzky and Lemieux were playing, it would have been Howe, Richard and Beliveau would have been the best 3 players or whatever. Probably Bobby Orr as well by that point or whatever, but it just keeps moving and moving and moving. Probably in 10, 15, 20 years' time, there will be more of an acceptance of Sidney Crosby being one of the best players of all time, and there will be far more arguments of, was Sid better than Mario, was Sid better than Gretzky, etc., etc. But you can't, like, the book hasn't even been finished on Sidney Crosby, let alone had time to settle and gather a bit of dust like Mario's has.
That's kind of my point, though, is that we don't appreciate what he is now. Like you're saying the kind of thing I say is that it's going to take at least 10 years for us to go, oh yeah, he was fucking unbelievable. Not just really good, like unbelievable. And every week, every game, he does something that you go, Jesus Christ. I mean, I can't even... I said about his goal against the Avs the other week. Just watch that goal and then close your eyes and try and imagine that anybody listening to this, if you just close your eyes and imagine trying to be able to do that on the ice at that speed and that speed of thinking, it's just, but because it's Crosby, we're just like, oh my God, what a great goal. And we live in such a fast-paced kind of click, highlight world. Is it you see a Crosby highlight where he bats the puck to himself out of the air and then volleys it in, and you go, holy shit, that was amazing. And then the next day, I don't know, a goalie stops a 2-0 breakaway and you've just forgotten about it already. You're just like, oh yeah, whatever, that was yesterday. That's yesterday's news. I don't care now. The people who watched Mario, Bobby Orr and Gretzky probably only saw Mario, Bobby Orr and Gretzky play because they were fans of the Oilers or the Bruins or the Penguins. If I had the bandwidth and a monitor big enough, and if there was 7 games on at once, I could watch all of them at the same time. And it's not like as deeply ingrained into kind of your mindset Like the papers in Pittsburgh at the time, it's all about Mario. Whereas now they'll write about the Penguins and but then they'll also cover other teams. Like, oh, here's what this player's doing for this team, or here's what this guy's doing. It's not just about that team. And I think the people who have those three as their top three, that was kind of all they saw as the greatness at the time. So it was hard. It is harder for them to say, well, hang on a minute, other guys could have been great, but we didn't really see them that much compared to those three.
I think there's something to be said for the fact that it's happening now, and I'm sure there are people that, maybe Mario and Gretzky sort of detractors or whatever, or just unappreciators because it's just happening. You can't.
Yes, yeah,
yeah, because Crosby's doing this stuff at the moment. He's part of the benchmark for what we expect from players at the moment, if that makes any sense. Like, there would be,
I get it.
Back in the day, there'd be people like, oh, Gretzky only had a 150-point season. God, that's a bit shabby, really, isn't it? Whereas now, looking back and understanding what we understand of the game today, where there's nobody around doing what Gretzky did, we appreciate him far more. So it's really hard to be in that moment and appreciate what's happening in front of you, because you can't envisage a time when that's not happening. So we should be more appreciative of Crosby, but it's human nature to not be appreciative. You don't know what you have until it's gone. Like that exists as a saying for a reason, because that's how we're sort of programmed to think.
I was trying to think of a comparable for another sport. I thought maybe Michael Jordan with LeBron. I thought there's obviously football, like Pele, Maradona, being compared to Ronaldo and Messi. I think it's different with Crosby, because there's always that argument that, oh, this player hasn't won this or this player hasn't won that. And that's always what's levelled at Lionel Messi, is that he's not single-handedly won Argentina a World Cup. And it's like, well, no shit. Every single team on the planet now has a nutritionist, has this, has that, has blah, blah, blah. And now, like, supreme God... And I firmly believe there are people who have a God-given ability to do something.
Oh, Christ.
Like,
you only have to look at Messi to know that. Like, he is a walking example of natural talent.
Yeah, exactly. Like, my favourite player back in the day was Ronaldinho. I thought he was the same. He just had a God-given ability to... Like, God-given ability now will only take you to a point. Like, Crosby clearly has just a God-given ability to play hockey. But that doesn't then take you further because now everyone else has, like I say, every team has a nutritionist, they have a skating coach, they have a shooting coach, they have a fucking passing coach, they have all everything. And for him to be so much better still boggles my mind. I don't think you replace him now with one of the top three, but for me now the top three is now the top four.
Yeah, I think you've got an argument there. It's the weird thing with Crosby, sorry, I think even when he's still playing to this level, when he's like 40, 41, people still aren't going to appreciate it.
No, you're right, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, which would be mental. Imagine 10 years from now, Crosby's still playing to this same level. Like, that's ridiculous. And yet people didn't strictly appreciate it with Yager to an extent. Like, the geezer's 45 and he's out there playing AHL games and playing a lot better than 60% of the league, and yet it was still like, oh, it's just Yager only had 50 points. What a fucking bum.
I know.
It's the problem.
And it's mad though. But I think of all the sports, hockey's for sure the worst for not appreciating what we have right now.
Oh yeah.
Just to give Crosby his due, because I didn't want to make it about this, but I'm just going to list some of his like awards and accolades and all that kind of thing. 3-time Stanley Cup champion, 2 Conn Smythe, 4 Prince of Wales trophies, 2 Hart trophies, 8-time All-Star, 2 Art Rosses, 2 Rocket Richards, 3 Ted Lindsays, the only teenager to win a scoring title in any major North American sports league, and he's in the Triple Gold Club, and he's the only player to do that as a captain. Not bad, and he's still playing. I'm playing amazing.
And you're forgetting the 12-time Cole Harbour Arse of the Year award, which he's currently the reigning champion of.
I'm sure McKinnon's going to win it one day.
When Crosby retires, when he starts getting a bit of a sag.
Yeah, maybe. But there we go. That's kind of That was my expanded point on that. Because it did generate a little bit of buzz on our little Twitterverse, didn't it? So
Just a touch. It's always good to ignite the debate. So next week we're gonna do
Dominic Hasek. Why was he such a bad goalie?
Martin Brodeur, system goalie extraordinaire.
That's a better one. That would be a discussion.
Problem is, if Brodeur had to play his entire career with the trapezoid, he would have had a save percentage comparable to Sergei Bobrovsky's.
I was gonna say. Oh dear. Marty'd be playing his trade in Florida as we speak. Speaking of players being paid a lot of money, Roman Josi resigns.
8 for 9 for 8 years, was it? 9 mil, Av?
8 years, of course, that his number has to get in there. So it's 9,000,059 because he wears number 59, of course. The surprising thing with this was that there is a full no move for all 8 years.
That's 1, 2, 37, is it? That's about right, isn't it?
Yeah, I did actually check for a second. He wasn't playing in San Jose, but he's not. He's definitely still playing in Nashville.
No, he's just cited every single Sharks player as his comparable. So which Roman, which Sharks player are you comparing yourself to? Just any of them, just whatever.
Yeah. Did you see the press conference with him and Poyle? Fucking hell!
You can't call him Poyle because now I've just got an image of one of the McPoyle twins sitting at a podium.
Sorry, David Poyle. There we go. Yeah, he was. David Poyle sat there looking like he'd just taken it dry, and Roman Josi sat there looking like he'd paid to watch.
So wait, okay. So David Poyle's smiling, and okay, all right, I wanted to. I had that the wrong way around.
Dude, Roman Josi had the biggest grin on his face, and David Poyle just looked like, oh my god, what have I done again? What did I just do? A full no move for 8 years. Fucking hell.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. 72 million isn't bad. I'd be pretty happy if I just signed a contract that pays me 72 million over however many years.
Yeah, and included no risk of me ever being traded anywhere else unless I gave permission.
To refer back to a friend of the show, Micah McCurdy, he swiftly reminded us of perhaps just how much of a liability Roman Josi actually is.
And he was actually being held up by very good teammates.
I get the feeling that now that Subban's out of the picture, there might be a little bit more of a microscope on Roman Josi's defensive shortcomings.
I think you might be right.
Potentially.
But to be fair to him, he's very good looking.
He is. But
oh, that reminds me. Did you see that fucking thing on the NHL Twitter account, which was
lookalikes.
Celebrity? Fucking Roman Josi was fucking Johnny Drama from Entourage. What?
I didn't know who that guy was, and he doesn't look like Roman Josi at all. So, apart from the fact that he was white and had brown hair and a big head. Well done.
Fucking hell. Jesus Christ. Some of them are okay. I do always think Seth Jones looks like Trevor Noah. I think that, that's a lookalike.
Yeah, like a little bit, but only if
not separated at birth, but yeah, I can see it. Like, I get it. Fucking Roman Josi and, Kevin Dillon. What?
Who's the Matt Damon one?
Oh, Taylor Hall.
Yeah, nah.
No, yeah.
Nah,
they're both white and have kind of
sexy fish.
Like decent teeth. Yeah.
No, they were all terrible. They were all absolutely diabolical. What was the other one? The only good one was Jake Voracek and the guy from Silicon Valley. But even then, that was just like, he looks like that one photo of TJ Miller.
Yes, TJ Miller and Jake Voracek walking down the street. They not look like anything like each other.
No, but you just managed to find one photo of TJ Miller where he looks like Jake Voracek. Congratulations.
I mean, they missed a trick because Jake Voracek looks like his team's own mascot. That's the joke.
I was going to say.
That's the joke. They can't even get that. Fucking hell.
For sakes. Yeah, they were all terrible. And I feel like there are some better ones out there.
I want to talk about Devontae Smith-Pelly. So he signed with Kunlun Red Star in the KHL.
Damn shame. That's what happens. You win the Stanley Cup. You don't go to the White House, and then you get exiled to the far side of the KHL.
Not only do you win this, like you're integral to them winning the Stanley Cup. I mean, like all his goals were kind of big goals. They made a difference, and he got his picture perfect. You know, his kind of his front page of the newspaper goal with that diving effort against the Knights.
Smith-Pelly carries Spiza off. Puck comes on back. Orpik through one around and got Smith-Pelly. Scores! Devontae Smith-Pelly has tied the game.
Yeah, the stark contrast in Justin Williams winning the Conn Smythe for that sort of effort, and DSP getting banished to China. It's funny, isn't it?
So this is what I was getting at, and you've already alluded to this. Is that, do you think there's anything in this about because he didn't go to the White House and it led to a kind of a negative feeling towards him? Because I know that Braden Holtby and Brett Connolly also said they weren't going to go, didn't they? Do you think there's anything to that? The report was as well is that he turned up. The report was as well is that he turned up after the Stanley Cup season to training camp like out of shape.
Oh, really?
And then he didn't. Wasn't it that they weren't going to like they said, oh, we're thinking we're not going to re-sign him, and then there was kind of a bit of a public outcry because he didn't go to the White House, so they kind of had to re-sign him.
No, they didn't extend him a qualifying offer.
That was it.
Which, yeah, it doesn't look very good, but the idea was because if you extend as you well know, Dan, if you extend a player a qualifying offer, he gets, I think it's their salary from the last year of their last deal plus 10% as like a standard sort of thing. So it wasn't necessarily they didn't want him, they just didn't want to pay him 10% more than they already were. Which, I mean, it's shrewd business, but it's a bit of a... Yeah, you're always going to have a bit more of a microscope on you if you do that to a player who didn't go to the White House and is already black. Like, it's just a perfect storm with DSP. I think to an extent it's one of these ones where nobody's talking about Ryan Spooner being in Switzerland apart from us. But yeah, there's plenty of other people out and about who are playing in obscure places. But yeah, when you add in everything that's happened with DSP, it's like, you know, say a relative comparable, JT Brown playing in the AHL at the moment. He could be playing in China, couldn't he?
Yeah, that's true.
And then to an extent you'd have a similar sort of discussion, but the whole JT Brown thing died down pretty quickly afterwards because it wasn't as big a thing at the time. Yeah, I don't necessarily think there's some John Scott-esque sort of conspiracy to get him out of the league and shuffle him off to the deepest, darkest corner of hockey, of the hockey world. But yeah, there's probably quite a few people who are worse than Devontae Smith-Pelly who are still playing in the league. So
I think it shows. Again, as we say time and again, unfortunately, it shows that kind of side of hockey that it even kind of crept into my mind. Is this a thing?
Oh yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? If it was just that kind of sport, we'd just be like, yeah, he's not performed and he's out of shape and he's had to go. That's it. Like, it's hockey. What can you do? But after everything that happens, yeah, you do then start to sometimes put two and two together and get 4.5.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because he's one of less than 10 black players in the league. He's one of less than 10 mildly politically outspoken players in the league, and that's enough to just get the cogs turning when something like this happens. Whereas, to be honest, there's a chance he's, like any player in any sport, he's probably making more money out there than he was being offered in the NHL, the AHL. So he took it. I doubt Devontae Smith-Pelly has gone out there because it's the only place he can find work.
I'm not sure about that.
Oh, somebody would have offered him. Yeah, I'm not saying he's got the pick of the litter, but I'd imagine that Red Star are probably compensating him enough to make it worth his while to go out there. He's not playing for 45 grand a year out there, is he?
True. Oh yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. I see what you mean. I see what you mean now. Yeah. I guess so.
It was probably like
I just wondered. I wondered if it was clear that he wasn't going to get. And he had a PTO with the Flames, and I was just wondered if there was ever. And obviously that didn't work out. I wonder if there was maybe just that kind of, like Josh Ho-Sang, I guess, like just kind of. I hate saying the word stench around him.
There probably,
do you know what I mean? Though, like
stench around him. He's a hockey player. Hockey gear is very, very.
Yeah, true. But maybe he's kind of like, can we take on this guy who didn't go to the White House? Do we want to risk it? Kind of, like that, that kind of shit. And I just wonder, like,
Yeah.
Again, I hate having to ask. I don't want to ask this question, but fuck.
I mean,
I don't know.
I'd say no, but I would equally not be surprised if that turns out to be the case. But let's look on the bright side. Let's say the Flames PTO ended with a league minimum 2-way contract offer, and Kunlun came in and said, "Here you go, mate, 900 grand flat. Do you fancy it?" He said, "Yeah, go on, man."
No, that's a good point.
Hopefully.
His agent rang and said, Kunlun Red Star are going to pay you $6 million for 1 year. And he went, "Oh, well, yeah, I'll see you later then." Bye-bye.
All you have to do is punch Russians in the face.
The Flames were begging him to sign. Begging him. He's like, "No, fuck off."
Please, the most we can do is $4.5 million, Devontae. Not interested.
We need you to bring that Stanley Cup fire that you brought for the Caps to get us over the hump, get us back to the glory days. He's like, "Well, no, because I'm going to China for $6 million and making all their endorsement money as well."
After this contract, we'll make you the premier of the Chinese Communist Party.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm going to be a little bit self-indulgent. This is the Indulgent podcast this week, as we talked about your wedding.
God's
I want to talk
sake.
about the Bruins top line. Dude, okay. I've said this a million times, is that I hate talking about the Bruins on here, and I try very hard to not that I try hard to not talk about them, but if anything happens or they do something good, or I just think, I can't mention it, because I would hope by now at this point people listen to this show know that I am not that kind of fan. I think I've proved that I'm not. We've got to talk about this top line. Fucking insane.
Yeah, we've got to talk about Patrice Bergeron being carried by Pasternak and Marchand.
So true. Dude, in 12 games, 57 points. 57?
Mate, mental. Absolutely mental. What, 12 games in?
12 games in, 57 points.
Crazy, isn't it?
12 games in, Marchand's got 21. Pasternak's got 24. Bergeron's got 12. I mean, clearly, yeah, Bergeron is the weak link here.
At only a point per game.
I mean, maybe at this point, just he should be traded, I think that's the discussion.
At least drop down to the third line in favour of David Krejci.
Yeah, well, push Charlie Coyle up to the top line and get Bergeron down to those third line minutes.
I was going to say Krejci and Bacchus 1-2. Then Bergeron is your third.
Yeah. And Pasternak now is setting up in, for some reason again, I don't know, maybe he's been watching videos, but Pasternak keeps setting up in that Ovi spot and just is left there. Can't explain why teams are doing that, but Sharks did it last night. And here's the thing as well, they're not being played to death either. I think Marchand, all time on ice in all situations, because Marchand and Bergeron both play penalty kill minutes as well. Their penalty killing. Have you seen some of the clips, the gifs of their penalty killing?
Oh, it's just crazy. It's just keep it
for 45, 50 seconds, just keeping the puck, just skating around the rink, like it's a practice, just skating around the rink with the puck.
The clinic of all
nobody able to
clinics.
get the puck off them. Yeah, Marchand at the moment, out of all players, 138th most minutes. Bergeron's 168th most minutes, and Pasternak is 180th most minutes. When they're on the ice, they're deadly, and they're not even on for that long.
That's very not very subtle shade being thrown at Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid.
I mean, you can read into that what you like, Will. I'm not,
Am I saying they're more efficient and more elite? Who's to say?
It's weird because we were talking about teams who felt like they had something to prove this year. Really rare that teams who get to the cup final and either win it or lose it, or even, to be fair, even have a deep playoff run, come out this hot at the start of the next season.
Mm.
And I said to you, didn't I? I thought they'd be sluggish. I thought they'd be a bit slow. Just make the playoffs. I mean, right now they're looking. That whole team is looking so good, and players are just stepping in and playing really well. And it's all down to Cassidy. It's all. I said this before. It's all down to Cassidy. He was the one signing in the off season they had to do, and they had to get right, and they got it done. I don't know what's better than perfection, but right now that's that line. It's terrifying.
Perfection is aiming to emulate that line right now. It's crazy, and obviously, David Pasternak's going to be the centrepiece in that. Talking about, he's so young and he's still just getting better and better, going from strength. But Brad Marchand's 30 now, isn't he? 30, 31?
Yeah, 31, I think.
Brad Marchand's getting better and better and better as he gets older, which is just crazy.
We talked about on this show when we got his contract, and it was kind of we'll see. It should be okay. He had one good season, and it should be okay.
And would you look at that? It's been okay so far.
I'll say, dude, it's been better than okay. It's been better than okay. I just think it's like they seem to have. It seems stupidly simple, but you've got Bergeron in the middle, your two-way forward, breaking everything up, making plays. Did you see that fucking hit he put on Mika Zibanejad? Oh my god! Just crushed his sternum, knocked him out of the game. So you've got Bergeron doing the heavy lifting in the middle. You've got a playmaker, a little, darting around, snippy, fucking rat, biting at your ankles, playmaker. Then on the other side, you've got a sniper. You would think that is how you build a top line. You have a heavy lifter, a playmaker, and a goal scorer.
It's where they're all elite in those positions. Ideally you build every single line with balance, but at some point, for most teams, talent has to balance the play styles. The Brewers are just very fortunate that they have three very different yet very complementary players who are all incredible. Yes, perfect storm.
Yeah, you're right. Normally you'd have an elite player in one position and the other two feed off that player, don't they? But in this situation, you've got three elite players all feeding off each other at the same time. Plus, then you've got Krug on the back end, who, is one of the best passers in the game at the moment. And I think, I feel like Tuukka Rask is just. I don't understand. I mean, I thought he'd maybe come out the gate slow. I think he's currently at 9:52 or something, or like a 9:50. Just it's fucking insane.
That's all right, I suppose.
Well, I don't know if you know this or not. There was an outdoor game this week.
Setting tonight, Craig. It is beautiful, and the snow adds a little bit to it. The adrenaline is running, and you can tell the players have been dying to drop the puck. Has Little with it. Connor to Little, scores! They didn't score in the power play, but Brian Little has given the Winnipeg Jets a 2-1 victory at the Tim Hortons Heritage Classic in Regina.
Here's my question, right? Here's my question. When did you know there was an outdoor game?
About 8:24 this evening.
Is that true?
Genuinely, it was probably a bit before that. I saw a photo of the Flames wearing their jerseys, their Heritage Classic jerseys, which are lovely, absolutely lovely jerseys.
Yeah, very nice.
And I thought, they've done the promo shot with them all kitted up, with the eye black and the toques and stuff like that. And it crossed my mind for a moment, maybe it has happened, and didn't think about it. And then later on, I saw a photo of Mark Scheifele doing an interview at the outdoor games.
In the snow.
So it has happened.
Yeah, I realised on the day as I was obviously browsing through Twitter, and I was like, why are they showing a hockey rink at a football, the big open air stadium? That's weird. Oh, maybe they're getting ready for something.
I've never seen anything like this before.
Because I was just thinking, I was just baffled looking at it, and I kept, like you say, I was kind of going, no, I can't. That's not today, because it can't be, because I would have heard maybe one thing about it, and maybe, this is what we talk about when we do this show. Is that me and Will have to search out this news, and I'm positive everyone who lived in Canada who was a hockey fan was well aware of the 2019 Tim Hortons NHL Heritage Classic, but for us over here, we had no idea. We had no idea. I didn't see a single thing about it until the day it happened, or in Will's case, a few days after it happened.
The thing I wanted to highlight something that was potentially going to make the point even more, but looking at it now, so on the NHL app, which is probably where a lot of people get their results from, probably where the league wants you to get a lot of your results from as well. There's no mention of it being a special game or anything. And that even goes for the Winter Classic. So presumably for all outdoor games and all sort of event games, if you will, there's no sort of extra tag or all you need is a little sort of marker in the corner to denote this is an event, this is something worth tuning in for. I mean, at least they had it on a Saturday night. That's good. That's good in a scheduling way, but it just feels there's no marketing whatsoever for. Obviously, they ran the Winter Classic down your throats, but for any Stadium Series games, for any this fucking Heritage Classic or a Stadium Series by any other name, there's little to no build-up for it at all.
No, you're right. Yeah, yeah. On the NHL app, yeah, it's just got Flames Jets. That's it. Like every other game.
Like it could be any old game. Yeah, I don't know. It's not how I do it personally. Yeah, all jokes aside, like I'd have it at the top on the day. Like sack off the whole chronological sort of thing. Obviously, it's good to have for your regular days, but for this, you want it top of the bill. Bam! This is the highlights. Like this is what we as a league want you to watch. We want you to watch one of our marquee events, where we've rented out the bloody Canadian Tire, sponsored by Tim Hortons, brought to you by Canadian Tire Dome in Calgary. It's just little bits like that. Like you don't have to pay to do that, but it still acts as an element of promotion.
Yeah, you already own the NHL app. It's your app.
Yeah, you're paying just to have that created already. Like just change it.
Yeah,
like,
put something on it. Like you say, yeah, because when you go into the NHL app, if you've put your favourite team in, that team is at the top, isn't it? So
no, not anymore. Not on my one, at least. It used to be that way, but not on the Android app.
Oh well, I was going to say clearly because you're so upset with the Stars' performance, you've just they're not your favourite team anymore. I haven't got a favourite team.
My favourite team is the Manitoba Moose of the AHL.
My favourite team is just hockey.
Oh, I'm such a good guy like that. I'm team refs.
But like you say, yeah. So if you're flicking through because I was trying to look at what's upcoming in the week, any big games or anything, in case I can watch them. If on the Saturday that was at the top, I would have been thinking that's weird. Why is that at the top? Even that alone. Nothing else, just that alone, I would have clicked on it and gone, "Oh, cool, outdoor game, cool." But no idea.
It's weird. I do not get it at all. And it's not even like this is the first year. Like it happens every single year. There'll be, oh shit, that was a fucking outdoor game. And I'm sure it's probably not the case if you live in the markets. But like bloody hell, I mean, I don't know. They make more of a to-do about when there's a pre-season game in the Czech Republic than these bloody outdoor games.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. Actually, yeah, because I knew more about the pre-season games this year in Europe than anything about that outdoor game.
And I don't strictly think that's because we follow the same outlets for pre-season for the regular season. Sure, things happening in Europe is more close to home and more our market in a way, but I don't think that's the excuse.
No, not at all. Not at all. Last thing here, man versus 8-year-old.
Hey, Will, you schmuck. You're going to get roasted by an 8-year-old, you fool.
Still drawing Will, currently 7-all.
That'll do. We'll keep
but
it.
But I have to mention last week, I listened back to it and it was Shark Sense. You went and you laughed and you were like, no, it can't be. So it's just got to be the Sharks. It has to be the Sharks. And of course the Sens won.
Naturally, because you rig it somehow. You've got old Gaz on a hotline, like right. He's pitting the Sharks. If you could sort the Sens out for me, that'd be good. Cheers, Gary.
I'm on the phone to Eugene. Okay, Eugene, you have to actually win this one. Okay, you do your best in this one. You actually have to win. Okay, fine. All right. Here's this week's games: Canadians, Golden Knights.
Oh, Golden Knights.
Sabres, Caps.
Caps.
Canucks, Ducks.
Canucks, Ducks.
That just sounds funny.
It does. It sounds really good.
Flames, Blue Jackets.
Oh fuck, that's trickier. How the Blue Jackets doing? I don't even know. Let's go Columbus.
And Oilers, Penguins. The greatest player in the game today will be playing in this game with Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Brandon Tanev does.
Nice.
Thank you very much. It's two teams I don't believe in. So it's who's turning back.
This is essentially the NHL's Easter Bunny versus the Tooth Fairy. Is what you're saying.
It's Jesus versus Adolf Hitler.
Now, I don't know much, but I know for a fact at least one of those was real.
Yeah, we've got the records say Jesus was a real person, whether or not he
exactly.
was
I've read a Bible, Will.
Come on, man. Yeah. I'm reading books with Hitler in it.
I've never seen him around. What's he done lately? Nothing. Like,
you can't go a day without hearing about Jesus, but this Adolf guy, he's faded into the background. I'm gonna go Penguins.
Alrighty. Thank you for listening, folks. Will, any last words?
Absolutely none. None at all. See you later.
Fantastic. Take it easy, folks. Thank you again to Meredith, and we'll talk to you later.
Peace.